Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm James with Epilog Laser. For today's project, I'm adding a file to our popular sample club where you can take a design that I've created, download it, create it with your own laser. Now this is a fun project because it's a living hinge photo frame. So it's actually been designed for Taskboard, or you can use 3mm MDF as well. And the best part about it is the file's free to download, so click that link in our description, download the file, and follow along. Now, living hinges are very popular for all kinds of laser cut projects because you can take a solid, rigid material like this wood and add cuts in such a way that it becomes bendable and flexible. So it's great for any project where you want to add some movement to your project. Now, we'll go through the entire process. I'll show you how to set up that file. Of course, we'll show it actually laser cutting. I'll show you the painting, the assembly, and as a special bonus tip, I'll show you how you can create your own living hinge file. Let's jump in and get started. So when you download the files, you're going to see there's three types here. We've got it both in AI and CorelDRAW, as well as a SVG file format. Now this allows you to use any type of graphic software you want, and you can use it with any laser that you want as well. So we've got this all ready to go. So we'll just go ahead and use that CorelDRAW version. So when you open that file, you're going to see that there's a couple different areas here. On the left side, I've got the full living hinge, and this is going to allow us to use this in other projects as well. And later in the video, I'll actually go through how we created this and how you can use it on your own projects. Here on the page, we've set this up with the actual picture frame file. Now, how this is going to work is we're going to have a folding picture frame, and there's going to be a little tab here that connects up to the other side of the picture frame. Got our two living hinges, and then we've got these red lines, and these are score lines so that we can line up on the picture frame where we're going to have the bars that actually hold that picture in place. And these are the bars that we're going to use for that. We'll show you how to put all this together in a moment as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and select everything on that page, and I'll print that. And we're going to send this over to the Epilog dashboard. Now I'll choose the Epilog engraver as my printer. I've got selection only, so I've got just what's on the page there. And we'll click print. And that's going to transfer this over to our laser dashboard where we can actually set up all of our settings and use the camera and make sure everything's aligned. Now when the file opens in the Epilog dashboard, we can see here that I've got my graphic up in that top left corner. And from the camera view, I can see I've already got my material on the laser bed. Now, this is a Taskboard we're going to be using today. It's a great material to use with the laser because it's used in all kinds of different applications. It's very similar to a mat board, cuts really well, and it's used in architectural modeling and all types of things. Now, I can see over here that it's separated out into two processes based on the color of the graphic, so red and black. The red's going to be our score lines, and the black's going to be our cut-through lines. So we'll go ahead and import our score line settings, come to the Vector tab, and choose Paper Score. Now I'm running this on a Fusion Edge 2480 watt today, and we'll be using 50% speed, 3% power, so very, very little power because we're just scoring the top of this paper. And I've turned my frequency down to 2%, and this is going to create kind of a dotted line because we just want to be able to mark the area where we want to glue these pieces to later. For the black, I'll import my material settings as well, and I'm going to choose mat board cutting. And on this 80 watt, we're going at 30% speed, 25% power, and turning that frequency to 50%. We'll go ahead and print this over to laser, and let's go try it out and see how it comes out. So here at the laser, we're going to go ahead and start this up. And first we're going to see that it's scoring this, and this is why you can hear kind of that dotted pattern it's doing. That's just going to be to mark where to put our guides. And it'll start to actually cut all the way through. And we'll go ahead and let this run and pull it out when it's done. Now that that's finished cutting, we can go ahead and just open the door and remove that extra taskboard out of the way. I'll just move that over here, get these pieces out of the way. Now we can see our finished piece. I can see that the bends work really well here and they're nice and strong, so I think we're good to go to continue assembling. So now we've got the finished piece as well as the guide pieces, and I'm just going to take some Gorilla Glue super glue and put it on one of the thin pieces, just a thin strip here all along there. It won't take a lot to glue this down. And once I'm happy with that, then I'm just going to go ahead and place it on the top edge of one of these larger pieces. And this is going to be the section that we glue down to the actual score lines that we created earlier. And I'll do that with both of these and let them dry for a minute. Once those have dried, I'll just go ahead and take each of those, find my score lines on the piece, and I'm going to place it so the thin section is at the top and the bottom of this area so that we can slide our photographs underneath each of these guides. So I'll just add another little thin strip of glue on this and glue that down to those areas as well. So once that's all dried, we'll go ahead and paint this. And I'm going to use my MTN 94 paint and do a light green here. Just do short strokes on it to just paint that entire piece. Once it's dried, I can flip that over and do the other side as well. Once that paint's dried, we just go ahead and take this, and I'm going to take that tab we cut and place that into the slot so that it all goes together. Now, if I was using 3mm MDF, I'd have to adjust the width of that slot so it would be the thickness of the wood. So it takes a little bit of playing around with, but comes out really nice. Now I can just take that photograph and slide that right into place. We've got a great photo frame all ready to go. Now we have a really fun picture frame we've created from that taskboard. And you can do this in all kinds of different colors. You could do it out of MDF. There's a lot of different possibilities here for this product. Now to create your own living hinge, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. On mine, I've actually used rectangles to create this, and I found this worked really well both on that taskboard as well as I've used this on a 3mm MDF, and it worked great too. But if you actually go up to Etsy, you can see that there's lots of different patterns people have used to create these kind of hinges. Now, these are all really for personal use, not commercial use, so you will need to create your own if you're trying to do a commercial project. Now, when you're creating it, there's really 3 different measurements that you have to take in consideration. The first is going to be the line length segment for each of these. The second is going to be the spacing between each of those segments, vertically and then also horizontally between the columns. Now, we're using one that's 36.5 millimeters tall. And I'm doing a spacing of 10 millimeters between each one. And kind of the rule of thumb here is you don't want to remove any more than 80% of the material. And I found that was a good way to get to that 80% when I took in consideration the entire line segment height. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my first segment here, 36.5 millimeters tall. And this one's 1.3 millimeters wide. And now we're going to duplicate that vertically. So I'll set my X duplicate distance to 0. My Y, I want 10 millimeters between it. So it's 36.5 millimeters tall already, so I'll make this negative 46.5 millimeters. And then I'm going to go and select that and duplicate that down the page. Now I need to go ahead and make my second column. So I'm going to go ahead and group that. And I want 3 millimeters between each column. So I'll change my X distance to 3, my Y to 0. And Control D to duplicate that. Now right now all of these are lined up and we want to change that so they're offset. So I'm going to take my second column and ungroup that. Delete that top one. And then I'll regroup the rest of that column. And now I can select both columns, and I'm going to align these vertically. And you can see I've got equidistance between each one now. So now I just need to duplicate the two columns. So we have 3 millimeters between each column. So to duplicate two of these, I'm going to change that to 6 millimeters across and Control D. And this way you can make this as wide as you want based on how wide you want your hinge area to be. And once I'm happy with the distance, I'm ready to test this. Now, I ran a lot of tests when I was actually creating this to find those right distances. And like I said, this works really well with these materials. But the best way to test it is to just draw a rectangle and use some of your extra material that we're going to actually cut this hinge on. So I'll go ahead and group that hinge, select that, and the box, and I'll just center those to each other. And now I'll come up and click the trim button. And when I delete this outside area, I can see that I've got my hinge ready to go, and I can cut this out and test it and see if I'm getting the right bend to the material, or if it's strong enough, or if I need to adjust those widths between the columns or spaces at all to get the right hinge design. When you want to use this living hinge on other projects, you're just going to do that same thing. You're going to create whatever shape you want to use it on. So if I wanted to create a living hinge in the middle of a circle, all I'm going to do is create that circle there, take my living hinge, decide how wide I want it, and I can always add or subtract some of these columns based on that. Center that to that circle. And then I'm just going to trim that and delete the excess area. And I've got my living hinge there. So this circle will bend as well. So this makes it a really easy way to use this living hinge on a lot of different projects. So living hinges are great for all kinds of designs. I've seen these used on wine bottle holders, on lighting fixtures. There's a lot of different ways you can use this really creatively. We have these really great photo frames we finished up, and we've done this in multiple colors. I did it on a Taskboard, but like I said, you could do this out of a 3mm MDF as well, and it comes out just beautifully. Now, I hope you found these tips helpful today. If you did, be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so to find out when the latest videos are coming out from Epilog Laser. If you'd like to find out more about Epilog Laser, click the link in our description and fill out the form, and we'll be in touch to show you everything cool that you can create with a laser system. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.